The Razer Viper Ultimate first released almost 2 years ago in late 2019 and quickly established itself as one of the top wireless mice available. I was a huge fan and used this mouse for about 6 months at launch, impressed by the performance and comfort of the mouse. With this knowledge and perspective, I wanted to revisit the Viper Ultimate with you to see if it's still one of the best wireless mice you can buy 2 years on. The Viper Ultimate is a bit of a nod to the past. There's a fabric hanging loop, a magnetic door flap and Razer complement slip, along with a well-presented mouse and dock. The first thing I noticed is that for an Ultimate branded mouse, Razer offer no extras or accessories in the box. No grip tape, universal or otherwise, no spare skates, and no makeup brush, shout out to G-Walls for that one. Now, whilst Razer do sell pre-cut Viper grip tape for an additional $10 or so, it's a bit of a disappointment that this hasn't been revisited for a mouse that, at least on Razer's website, are still asking full MSRP for. The dock remains one of the better features of the Viper Ultimate, and honestly, as long as you remember to drop it on the dock when you finish for the day, this is a mouse that you'll never have to connect a charging cable to. From within the Razer family, the Viper Ultimate took some design inspiration from the Lance head with the rubberized sides and ambidextrous side buttons, but it's a refined take with improvements in almost all areas on the Lance head. In particular, I really enjoyed the comfort grooves on mouse 1 and 2 that let me easily slip into a relaxed claw and fingertip grip without losing the ability to micro adjust and X-axis control. I was surprised at how quickly I was able to adjust and feel comfortable on the Viper Ultimate again. The weight could be a potential turn-off for enthusiast buyers. Whilst this was one of the lightest wireless mice at release, it has been surpassed by a few comparably sized competitors, most notably the Logitech G Pro X Superlight at 60 grams and the Final Mouse Starlight 12 Medium at around 48 grams. On a mouse of this size and shape, the weight felt well balanced and appropriate to me. I had no issues whatsoever with quick flicks and micro adjustments, even on a slower control pad. The shape is quite reminiscent of the G Pro X with a central hump, but the more aggressive curves on the side will help this mouse to feel more manageable on people with smaller hands too. Final thing of note to the 7 or so people watching this video who use a mouse left-handed, it's one of the few modern flagships that still include ambidextrous button solutions on both sides. Now, jokes aside, Razer should absolutely be commended for offering accessibility on a flagship for mobility limited players or those unable to use a typical right-handed mouse for any other reason. Structurally, Razer has the build quality you'd expect from any major brand. The Mercury edition shown in this video in particular has a really premium feel in hand. From the finish of the paint used to the rubberized side grips, it absolutely differentiates itself from competing budget and mid-tier offerings. Razer also used their optical switches for mouse 1 and 2, which have seen a revision to version 2 since launch. For the competitive focused players amongst you, they're said to have the fastest actuation time and no debounce delay on click. Although I'm taking Razer's word on this, as I don't have the skills or tools to be able to test or validate these claims. From a user perspective, they do feel a lot snappier with better tactile feedback and acoustics, and don't appear to have the characteristic crunchy profile that was really common in launch, and earlier copies of the Viper certainly impacted my launch edition. The mouse wheel is easy to scroll and actuate, being both available but also sufficiently discreet that you're unlikely to hit it unintentionally. For many people, these side buttons were always considered to be the weakest point on the Viper Ultimate, and unfortunately, I have to agree that they probably still are. They're almost indented to the sides of the shell, making them difficult to find and actuate when compared to the competition with more pronounced side button profiles. Even Razer's own Viper Mini is significantly improved in this respect, and it's a shame that Razer never refreshed the Ultimate with the improvements seen here. Here's what the mouse clicks sound like and how they compare to some other popular mice. I'm also surprised at how disappointing the stock skates were and found them slow and scratchy. I swapped the skates for a set of Hyperglides and immediately noticed a big improvement. The Viper Ultimate ships with a DPI shift button on the base and is fully usable without software, but to get the most from it, you'll likely want to install Razer Synapse. Within Synapse, you can customize your DPI stages in levels of 50 from 100 right the way up to 20,000 DPI. You can adjust polling rate, rebind or disable mouse buttons, adjust lift-off distance, customize your RGB, and enable power saving settings. There are no major surprises here. I found the software to be accessible, functional, and unobtrusive. The sensor is also one of the biggest selling points for the Viper Ultimate, with Razer holding exclusivity on the Pixart $33.99 sensor, which they've branded as the Focus Plus. I actually found I played some of my best games on the Viper Ultimate and beat or matched some of my highest AimLab scores. Now, this absolutely could be placebo or coincidence, but it kind of neatly brings me into the first of my positives about this mouse as we summarise my thoughts on it. Firstly, availability. 2020 and 21 has seen availability become a major factor when considering tech purchases, whether it's GPUs, next generation consoles, final mouse drops, or even something like the latest G-Wolf's HeartES Wireless. Products are getting more and more difficult to reliably find. There is absolutely a premium in knowing that the Razer Viper Ultimate is available on demand from almost any major retailer or online store, and as a consequence, is easy to replace or return if you have any quality control issues. Next positive would be the real price. Now this comes with a caveat. I don't think $150 MSRP advertised is a good deal for this mouse, but the reason I'd suggest this as a positive is because I don't think I've seen the standard black edition sold at that price in months, with it selling as low as $99 with the dock on Amazon in September 2021. Next, the Focus Plus sensor. Whilst I've said that I personally can't tell the difference between this and comparable modern sensors, it is still the best in class, and if sensor performance is all that matters to you, the Viper Ultimate is an easy choice. Now, if you'd asked me to review the mouse on launch, I'd probably have put the switches in the needs improvement section, but Razer have upped their game with the V2 revision, and they are fantastic, unique alternatives to the popular mechanical switches available, with a pleasant sound and feel, and on paper at least, they offer some of the best performance of any switches available. Next, I'd like to shout out the charging dock again. Whilst the Viper Ultimate is available standalone, the dock is such a quality of life upgrade for storing and charging your wireless mouse that I'd absolutely say it's worth the small premium and really completes the package. It keeps your battery life topped up, your receiver dongle in perfect range, and your mouse securely stored when not in use. I can't fault it. More wireless mice should offer something similar. It's great. Lastly, shape and versatility. The Viper Ultimate shape works for a lot of grip and hand styles, but most importantly, buttons on both sides of the body make it one of the few viable choices for players with wider accessibility needs or limited mobility, which is fantastic to see from an inclusivity perspective. Well done here, Razer. Now, improvements are going to be quite nitpicky because there isn't actually a huge amount here wrong with this mouse. That being said, I think I can start with the mouse feet. For a mouse of this price from Razer, there really isn't a good reason that they haven't been improved yet. They're thin, scratchy, and glide poorly. If you're buying the Viper Ultimate, I would suggest you add a set of aftermarket skates to your order immediately to get the most from your purchase. In a similar vein, side buttons. I commend Razer for offering button layouts that improve accessibility, but I think Logitech had a better solution with the G Pro wireless magnetic buttons and blanks, allowing the side buttons that you're using to be more pronounced and easier to use. Next, box contents. I think Razer is one of the few remaining brands not to offer spare skates or grip tape in their box as standard. Now, I appreciate they do sell grip tape as a separate product, but on the Ultimate, Pro or flagship version of their product, it would be nice to have something included, or at the very least, it included in later product revisions. Razer's insistence that all of their products should be controlled by a single piece of software rather than onboard physical buttons does feel restrictive and intentionally positioned more as an attempt by marketing to soft encourage you to buy more Razer peripherals so you can have them all controlled in one place and unlock features like chroma color sync across devices rather than quality of life for the user. Finally, weight. I think the weight is balanced personally, but you can't ignore that the competition has moved on. In the 2 years since the Viper's been released, Razer's closest direct competitor Logitech have offered a flagship mouse that's up to 18 grams lighter at similar price and size with the G Pro X Superlight. And I think that's probably an apt way to summarise my thoughts on the Viper Ultimate. Razer dropped an absolute superstar in 2019 with this product. The fact that it's still competitive with some of the best in the market 2 years on is a testament to just how far ahead of the game the Viper Ultimate was. And if you want the TLDR, yes, this is a great mouse. I'm sure you'd be more than happy using it. But I can't help being reminded of the story of the tortoise and the hare. Razer, the hare, dashed ahead of everyone and found a nice quiet spot to sit and enjoy their success, whilst the tortoise in the story, the competition, have slowly and steadily been innovating and improving their products, whilst Razer have seemingly continued to sit back and watch our tortoise quietly take their lead. The Viper remains a fantastic mouse today, just as it did in 2019, but it's also a lot harder to defend it as a #1 mouse in the current market. With the Viper Ultimate, Razer showed that they have the potential to move the industry forward in a significant way. 2 years on, I hope we don't have that much longer to wait until we see just how far ahead of the competition our hair can charge this time.